We've been wanting to make a bird podcast for a couple of years. Our producer recommended Anchor, and the experience has been seamless. Anchor's free. You can record and edit your podcast on your phone or computer, and Anchor hooks you up by distributing your podcast to Spotify, Apple, etc. There's a monetization feature, That's what's happening right now, so thanks for listening. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM. This is Your Bird Story, a podcast about everyday people's experiences and relationships with wild birds in cities. I'm your host, Georgia Silvera Siemens. Hello, welcome to Your Bird Story. Today's episode, titled Bird Girls, is the 10th one of our first season. In this episode, you will hear the stories of 4 young girls who are out there observing birds, learning their calls and other behavior, and advocating for birds and other kinds of nature. Stay tuned for season 2, which will start in September. Hi, everyone. This is Your Bird Story, and I am here with...
My name is Baker, and I live in Brooklyn in 2 different places, Greenpoint and Williamsburg.
Nice to meet you, Baker. Brooklyn is an awesome borough of New York City for listeners not familiar with that geography. It's great to have you talking with us today, Baker. And my first question for you is, can you tell us how you became interested in birds?
Well, I became interested in birds when I was with my friend Avery and her 2 mothers. They live upstate, and we sometimes visit them. And when we visit them, we usually go on hikes in a place called the Audubon Society, and it has lots of birds.
On those hikes with your friend Avery, was that the first time you started noticing birds?
Probably.
Do you know some of the birds you saw on those hikes?
There's a chickadee. I think we saw some finches, and we saw a hawk.
Awesome. Did you use binoculars to see those birds, or were you able to just see them with your own eyes?
I was able to see them through a window.
Through a window? Oh, that is so cool. Did someone help you to identify the birds you were looking at?
There was like a guide, one of those guides in cards where you get to read like a golden finch, a bluebird, a cardinal.
That certainly helps. I wish sometimes I had those cards on my windows when I'm looking out at birds. Is that place that you went with your friend one of your favorite places to see birds?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite places to see birds.
Do you have any favorite places in Brooklyn?
Oh yeah, my mama's house. When I sleep and then when I wake up, I usually hear birds racketing outside my window. Like, chirp, 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 chirp.
Do you ever see the birds making those chirping sounds?
No, but I do believe that they are sparrows.
They're sparrows, okay. Maybe they're house sparrows. They do have this very rapid kind of chirping noise. Now, I'm wondering if Central Park is another one of your favorite places to see birds, because that's where you met Loyanne.
I like seeing birds there. I like seeing ducks there.
Can you tell us a little bit more about why Central Park is a favorite place?
Well, it's very bushy and greeny, so it's kind of like foresty, and then you get to hear birds. And I got to go really close to a cardinal.
Oh, was it the male cardinal? Was it
The male cardinal.
How did you know it was the male?
It had like red all over, and females are usually brown with like that colorful red beak.
Awesome. I like those are really good notes for folks who might be looking at a bird that's a cardinal and a way to tell the difference between the male cardinal and the female cardinal. So thank you for providing that detail. I know you were looking at a special bird in Central Park when you met Loyanne, the barred owl. Do you want to tell us about what it was like to see that owl?
It was cool. At first, I couldn't really hear it. I mean, I couldn't really see it, and I was like, where is it? Where is it? And I was looking everywhere through binoculars, and I was like, where is it? I can't see it. And then I finally saw it. It looked brownish, and it looked cute.
How long did you look at it?
Pretty long.
Were you and Loyanne the only people who were looking at it, or were there lots of other people?
There were lots of people, including my dad and my dad's friend's sister, I think.
What were some of the things, do you remember some of the things the owl did while you were watching it?
It ruffled its feathers like it was cleaning itself, I think. And that's all I saw.
So you've mentioned like 5 different birds, like we've talked about 5 different birds, the cardinal, sparrow, chickadee, hawk, owl. Can you tell me about your favorite type of bird?
My favorite type of bird is a bluebird. I saw a bluebird just once. I love them.
For listeners who aren't familiar with the bluebird, is it the eastern bluebird that you saw?
The one that's like light blue with orange tummy.
Okay, awesome. So the eastern bluebird. Where did you see that one?
I saw it, I think, in a place called Grace Farms, I think.
So we'll have to find out where Grace Farms is for our listeners. Why is the bluebird your favorite?
The bluebird is my favorite animal because it's pretty, and my favorite color is blue. So, and I think blue and orange look good together. And the bluebird looks cute.
I also like that blue and orange combination. They complement each other. And no matter the combination of colors on a bird, they always look really beautiful. And I think that's and cute.
Fluffy.
And fluffy. Yeah. So I think the very small birds are very cute, and sometimes I sort of squeal about them, and I think then I'm not being very mature, but I think it's okay. What are some of your favorite memories of watching birds?
So, me and my dad like going camping, and I was camping in Rhode Island. And then my dad woke me up because he thought he heard an owl. And I think it was a barred owl. And it was like, oh, 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 something like that.
Thumbs up to Baker's reenactment of the barred owl call. So wonderful, Baker. You not only have a great eye for birds, but it sounds like you really hear them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know other bird calls?
So at school, we kind of did an assignment to tell the difference between a hawk a hawk sound and a eagle sound, but I don't exactly know how to imitate them.
One interesting thing that I learned lately is that in movies, they often play the sound that the red-tailed hawk makes when you see an eagle flying overhead. And that's because the red-tailed hawk sound is much more robust. And the eagle, even though it's a really large bird, has a really fine call. I think if you're watching movies, you might have learned the call of the wrong bird. So I think it's good that kids are learning correct bird calls in school.
The eagle bird shrieks, I think. It's like, shriek, shriek.
So what advice would you give to other girls who want to start watching birds or need some encouragement to keep birding?
If you want to start watching birds, I think that you should be very patient when you're around birds and not like, oh, I found a bird, or else that will scare them. And maybe you should bring binoculars so that you can see close. And you can bring a notebook or a journal or a bird book to write down the birds you saw. And yeah, that's it.
Well, Baker, those were all my questions for you. I really enjoyed talking with you and hearing about all the places you've been, all the different kinds of birds you've seen, like the way you describe how birds look and how they sound. That sort of says to me that you're really patient and you're really observant and you see and hear lots of detail, and you really know it because you can share it with us. So really, I really appreciate it. And I'm actually going to ask Loyanne if she wants to come on in, ask any of her own questions, because the Bird Girl idea originated with Loyanne.
Well, as I've been listening to Baker, and Baker, you know so much about birds. At such a young age, I wish I had known so much about birds when I was your age. And so I was wondering, when you grow up, do you think you'll want to do anything in the sciences that have to do with birds?
I really want to be a vet.
Oh,
because I love animals as well.
That makes sense because your love of birds comes through. I know there are many, many different kinds of vets. Do you know what kind you'll want to be? One that looks at pets or farm animals or zoo animals? Any
I don't
thoughts?
know yet. Maybe just pets.
Okay, well, I think you're a real inspiration, Baker, to meet Bird Girl like you, who is just so interested in the world and the outdoors and the birds.
Yeah, and very enthusiastic. I kind of wish it was the daytime. I would go outside right now with my binoculars to see what I could see. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Baker.
Bye.
Hello, my name's Georgia. I'm here today with a special guest to record a special episode about girls who bird for Your Bird Story. And I'm here with Zoe and her mom, Jen. Welcome, Zoe. Listeners would love to learn a little bit about you. If you could let us know your name, where you live, what grade you're in. Where do you live?
New York, New York.
New York, New York. That's where I live also. And what grade are you in?
Second.
Second grade. Very nice. Well, welcome, Zoe. Thank you so much for spending some time with us and answering our birdie questions. Can you tell us how you first became interested in birds?
Pod school.
I have seen you in pod school, right? I've seen you out in Washington Square Park and on Waverly Place with your pod, and there are 2 other girls in your pod, right? 3 other girls in your pod.
We decided to make a bird board to like put up cool facts and drawings of like birds and feathers, so we could learn more. So when people walk in, like they can learn more about birds.
Oh, can you tell our listeners what are some of the birds that are up on your wall? Because your mom shared a photograph with me, but I can't remember the birds.
I think, there's a snowy owl and a black-capped chickadee, and I think an eagle. Yeah, an eagle. Eagle.
And did you and the other girls choose those birds?
No, Morgan just put them up.
Oh, can you tell us who Morgan is?
My pet school teacher.
So there's the snowy owl, the black-capped chickadee, and I'm assuming a bald eagle.
There's a red robin.
Ah, the American robin. Are any of those birds your favorite?
I like the snowy owl.
Have you ever seen a snowy owl in real life?
No.
No, me either. Why is it your favorite?
It's white, it blends in with the snow, and I like that it can turn its head all the way around.
Ooh, that is a cool thing. I know that you bird in Washington Square Park. Are there other places in New York where you go to look for birds? Do you ever see hummingbirds when you go out of the city?
Oh, yeah, we saw hummingbird before. I think we saw woodpecker too.
Zoe, when you go out to look for birds, is there like a certain thing you do?
Bring your binoculars. You can also bring your eyes, and you can bring up like a bird book where you can like write down like the birds that you see, like check the birds that you see and how much birds you saw, like 1 or 2 or 3.
Oh, I like all of those. Bringing your binoculars if you have them, bringing your eyes, a checklist. Do you also bring your ears when you go birding?
Yes.
Do you look out for other things like maybe nests in trees?
Yeah.
Have you seen any lately?
No.
No. Okay. I like to collect books about birds, and I'm curious, since one of the things you mentioned as something you might have on you when you go bird watching is a book. Do you have any books about birds at home? Like maybe a picture book about a bird or a bird guide?
Yes.
Yeah? You want to tell us about them?
There was one book that you brought to pod school with you,
Uh-huh.
right? And that was about different birds in North America. You definitely have some books about like penguins. But those are considered birds, right?
They are.
That's a fact. They can't fly.
Oh, they can't fly. Okay.
Still birds, though.
Okay.
Maybe my final question for Zoe is, in thinking of all the different things that you know about birds and that birds can do, is there one thing that birds can do that you wish you could do?
Fly.
And why flying? Where would you go if you could fly?
All the way to Hawaii.
Why'd you pick Hawaii? You knew that right away.
Because it's really hot there.
Have you been there before?
Yeah.
No.
Before we end, can I just add one thing? One of Zoe's favorite birds that she didn't get a chance to talk about is the red-tailed hawk. Because, we're all Washington Square Park fans. And
yeah,
one of her favorite park birds. So I don't know. Zoe, do you want to talk a little bit about the red-tailed hawk and what you like about it?
I like its red tail.
Zoe, I am actually at my desk right now, and on the wall next to my desk is some needlepoint that your mother made for me. And one of the organisms on that needlepoint is a red-tailed hawk.
Can I see?
Sure.
Wow. I remember that.
Yeah. So for listeners, it's a needlepoint with the Washington arch, a tulip tree leaf, a ginkgo biloba leaf, and a red-tailed hawk. It's an adult because it has the red-tail feathers.
Zoe has a question for you.
Do baby chick red-tailed hawks have red on their feathers?
They don't get the red feathers until, is it the second year? And I have Loyen on the line, so maybe Loyen can chime in. They're not born with their red tail feathers.
And I don't know off the top of my head, but I actually think it's in the third year.
Yeah, so it takes them a couple years of changing their feathers before the red ones grow in.
And there was one other thing that you noted that you were sharing with me, Zoe, about red-tailed hawks, that you mentioned that they fly really quickly around the park, and I asked you why, like why you thought that might be. You were thinking about like how they might be looking for food. Zoe used the word looking for prey, and I thought that was that's exactly right.
Yeah, that's a high-level understanding, the use of the word prey, and not simply food, because the red-tailed hawk is a bird of prey. It's a raptor, and at least for the pair that makes the park the sort of center of their range, I mean, they do hunt for prey in and around the park. I was looking today at a photo that a friend sent of one of the red-tailed hawks in the park, perched on a tree branch quite high up, and it was either another bird, smaller bird, or a rodent. The park does provide a decent supply of a variety of prey, so from squirrels to rats to a mix of smaller birds.
And Georgia, I just looked it up at All About Birds, Cornell's All About Birds site, and you were right, Georgia, that the red tails molt into their adult plumage usually at the beginning of their second year.
Great. So that's a really good ID field mark to keep in mind. If you have a sense that the bird is a hawk and it's probably a red-tailed hawk, if it doesn't have the red tail feathers, you know it's a younger red tail. Oh, and one more thing since we're doing ID stuff, and this helps if you have two red-tailed hawks next to each other. The female red tails tend to be larger than the male red tails. So next spring, when you see the pair in the park, look out for that size difference.
Okay.
Well, I really want to thank you, Zoe. This has been really lovely. I loved hearing all your answers. And we think it's really great that you're bird watching. And I have enjoyed seeing you out in the neighborhood with your pod looking for birds. So I hope you continue to do so. And maybe we can go birding in real life when it's safe to do that again.
Yay.
Welcome. This is Georgia Silvera Siemens for Your Bird Story. I'm here today with a very special guest, and I'd like to invite her to introduce herself to our listeners.
Hi, my name is Fernanda Cajat, and I live in Manhattan in the village.
Well, welcome, Fernanda. Thank you for joining us. Would you feel comfortable letting us know what grade you're in?
Yes, I am in 5th grade.
So before we started recording, we were sort of sharing notes on birds that you've seen and how you got into birding. So I would love if you could describe for our listeners how you became interested in birds.
Oh, so My dad went to this place in Central Park where I had never been. It's called The Ramble. And he brought me there. And we would feed birds. And I always liked seeing them because of their beautiful colors and the different species. And I think it was really cool. And it was a really nice experience for me. And yeah, that's how I got into birding.
Is the Ramble your favorite place to see birds, or are there other spots that you like to go and watch birds?
So the Ramble is like my favorite place and the only place because it's such a diverse ecosystem that there are a lot of different types of birds there. And here you normally just see sparrows, pigeons, a couple of robins, but there you can see blue jays, a cardinal, maybe a woodpecker if you're lucky, but normally the downy woodpeckers. Actually, once I saw a downy woodpecker over here.
So one of the photos that you shared with me was of you holding seed in your hand, and there was a tufted titmouse on your palm. Do you remember that moment when you fed the titmouse?
Yes. So I don't know which time it was that I fed the titmouse, but because there are various times because they're the easiest birds to feed and to watch because they're not so scared of you.
I thought it was delightful that you had that experience in Central Park, and where you live, you also get to see tufted titmice.
Well, they don't come a lot, actually. They just started coming this winter. And so we left seeds outside in our balcony, and they're always coming, and we saw them. Also, once we left seeds out in our balcony, and it was like spring, and there was finches that came to our balcony.
Can you say what type of finch?
It was a house finch.
Was it, did you see both the female and the male house finch?
Yeah, and then sometimes they brought their kids, and then they bring them as a family, and normally it would be female, male, and then kids, and they just grow up, and it would be so nice to see them from being a little kid to growing up.
Oh, about how long did that take from them to go from chick to adult?
It was like 3 or 4 months. It's a really short time.
Oh, I'm a little bit jealous, I have to say. That's a really lovely experience you've had. Do you have other memorable bird experiences?
Well, once I did see a peregrine falcon on the Brooklyn Bridge, and they are the fastest divers in the world for like birds.
Yeah. Is that another place that you go to watch birds, the Brooklyn Bridge?
No, actually, I really don't like it because I think it's for me, it makes me feel claustrophobic, and everything's really loud and noisy. But we were going to not Central Park. We were going to Brooklyn Park, and my dad brought us there, and that was the first time I ever went to the Brooklyn Bridge. Then when we were coming back on the Brooklyn Bridge, I saw the peregrine falcon. I was like, Daddy, look. And my dad took a picture.
Did you know right away that it was a peregrine falcon?
No, I was like, Daddy, what's that? And then my dad saw, and he could zoom up with his lens. So he told me it was a peregrine falcon. I never thought I'd be able to see one.
Well, I'm very happy that you had that experience, and it sounds like you know a little bit about the bird. You mentioned that they're the fastest diving animal.
Yeah. Also, in Colombia, there was this natural pool where birds would come and they just eat, and they wouldn't mind you looking at them or taking pictures of them. And it was like an ecological pool, and it was really nice because we got to see a lot of different and very tropical birds. One of them had like green eyes, I think.
Ooh. In addition to the green eyes, can you tell us what characteristics, what other features of the bird make them tropical birds?
So this bird might not seem very tropical, but it had green eyes, and so it didn't look very tropical. But the fact that it had green eyes made me like, wow, I've never seen a bird with green eyes. I've only seen them have like yellow or brown eyes or black, because those are the typical colors. And the bird was brown, and it was pretty big, maybe bigger than my head. And it was a seabird, I think. And it just really liked going to the ecological pool. And I think this has been happening for a pretty long time because the birds were very accustomed to visitors and fans who wanted to see the birds. There are also a couple of other birds, but I don't really remember them.
Have you spent a lot of time in Colombia birding?
No, it was just that one visit because we went to Colombia and we went to Cartagena, and I think it was really nice because there are a lot of seabirds, and their ecosystem is so biodiverse. We saw some iguanas, and we didn't get to see monkeys, but I did get to see a sloth with its baby.
I'm sort of, listeners can't see me, but I'm sort of like squeezing my hands with joy. That's another marvelous experience, Fernanda. Is the person that you bird watch with the most your father?
Yes, because my mom isn't really that into bird watching, although my dad really likes to do photography, so he tries to perfect his skills in photography on birds, and he taught me a lot about them. Birds are descendants of the dinosaurs, and one of their closest relatives, I think, in dinosaurs is the Archaeopteryx, and its name means ancient wing.
So I like that you've made this connection, and can you tell me how you learned about the connection between birds and dinosaurs?
So birds and dinosaurs, well, they have to be related because dinosaurs were they were here a very long time ago. So we're not descendants of the dinosaurs, but the dinosaurs were here first, and some of them developed and they had wings. Well, when the Big Bang happened, the birds were the only animals that could escape because they had wings, so they could fly. Then the birds evolutionized into sparrows and cardinals and blue jays, and also the webbing on the dinosaurs is it's how they're related, except birds have webbing with feathers, which is one of the ways that they evolutionized. And also the claws of the dinosaurs, they're smaller than the normal claws of the dinosaurs.
Well, thank you for that explanation, Fernanda. I can see that you're really passionate about birds and this sort of topic of how they evolved. I wanted to ask about something that we discussed before we started recording, and that's the snowy owl right now in Central Park, the new hot bird of the season. And could you tell our listeners why you'd like to see the snowy owl.
So I really like to see the snowy owl because of Harry Potter and because I think snowy owls are really cool and they are really rare in these parts because you don't normally see a snowy owl in the city, and it's like a really cool bird. And now that I'm into birding, I think that seeing a snowy owl is like it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity, if you see it like over here in the city, not like maybe outside. But like I'd probably have to go to somewhere really cold, like maybe Alaska, to see a snowy owl.
Do you keep a list of the birds that you've seen?
No, but I keep a list in my head. So I've seen robins, I've seen sparrows, I've seen a picture that my dad took of a fox sparrow, I've seen blue jays, I've seen cardinals, I've seen hawks, I've seen a peregrine falcon, I've seen an eagle, a bald eagle in a zoo. Like, I've seen a lot of birds, pink ibises in a zoo, but I've also, I've seen like starlings and a lot of things, but mostly in the city, you don't have like as many tropical birds. But I've seen like a lot of things, and most of the animals that I've seen are from the Ramble in Central Park. And some of the animals that are very common to see in winter sometimes are like, it took us a long time to see this one, but chickadees, and also nuthatches, which didn't take us such a long time, white-throated sparrows, starlings, well, not starlings, but grackles, woodpeckers, and I've also seen a downy woodpecker. Dad has seen a rose-breasted grosbeak. I've seen it in pictures. I've seen a red-winged blackbird. I've seen finches. I've seen a lot of things, but I think the most amazing thing I've seen is a mandarin duck. Because they're so colorful and vibrant.
Yeah, you've got a nice list going there. Of the birds you've seen, do you have a favorite?
I think my favorite is, I don't know. Actually, I don't think I have a favorite. Although if I do see the snowy owl, it might be my favorite.
Have you read all the Harry Potter books?
Yes, and I've watched all the movies. So my mom has this rule. You have to read the book and then you can watch the movie. So I had to read all the books and then I could watch all the movies. So, yeah.
Okay. Do you have a favorite book in the series?
I don't think I do. I mean, I really like the first one because always all the first books in any book series for me are the best because they're the ones where you get to meet the characters and you get to know the characters, like adventure, which normally gets into be the prime adventure-ish, because Harry Potter's first adventure was going to Hogwarts, and then that was the prime thing. Then you didn't see Dursley or Petunia or Dudley so much.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, they were really mean.
They were. Fernanda, I'd like to ask you, and this question seems very special because today is the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. So I'm glad to be speaking with you today and asking this question. What advice would you give to other girls who are interested in taking up birding?
So something I would say is it can be hard to find birds, but if you continue your passion, I think you can achieve your goals.
Thank you for that advice. One more question. So you mentioned that your dad, when he goes birding, when you go birding together, he uses a camera. Do you use binoculars?
No. But now that I've just got a Polaroid camera for Christmas, I might use it as like binoculars. But the frustrating thing about binoculars is you can see with such a great view, but then when you see something really cool and then you take out, like, let's say your iPhone or whatever electronics you have to get the picture, it might be too late. So I really like devices rather than binoculars, because binoculars can see something, but devices can like record it forever, so you never forget.
Yes.
Also, like, you could not forget, but you might not remember every single detail. And sometimes I really enjoy remembering every single detail. But also, I don't use binoculars because I'm not the type of person who brings binoculars. I'm more the type of person who watches the birds and lets them come close to me.
Okay.
Because I like seeing things that I can like be close to, not that far away from, because it's like, oh, I just really want to touch it. So I think being close to it is the closest thing I will get to touching a bird.
Well, it sounds quite respectful when you said you sort of are waiting for the bird to get close to you. So the bird has to feel a certain level of comfort with your presence so that it can move closer to you.
Yes.
Fernanda, really, thank you so much for sharing your bird life. Your passion for birds is so obvious, and your knowledge about them too came across in your answers. And I'm going to ask our mutual friend Loyanne, who's also here, if she has any questions for you.
For me, I knew Fernanda a lot when she was much younger. So it's really fun for me to hear how much you've grown in your knowledge and passion. So do you feel like as you're getting older that you're getting more inspired to choose maybe a career in the sciences or working with birds or animals?
So I've always really wanted to help out at shelters and all of those stuff, because I think animals are just, you want to touch them so much, but you also have to respect them because they're a person just like you. And just because you're like a little smarter than them does not mean that you can do anything to them that you wouldn't want anyone to do to yourself. So I think you need to really help out the environment right now because of global warming. And I think it's really important to have those people out there. I also really like other things like writing, but I really would like to help out. Now that I'm growing older, I think my passion has increased, but I'm not sure I would take it as a profession yet, because I still really want to hug the animals, and I shouldn't be able to do that. I just want to hug them because I feel like they're so furry and soft.
And Fernanda, you mentioned global warming. Have you thought about how climate change might be affecting some of the birds you see?
So yes, it will be destroying their environments because of the heat or because of the cold, because climate change makes the weather unpredictable. It doesn't just make it really, really hot. It can also make it really, really cold. And with these crazy weather patterns that like one day it's freezing and you're a bird who loves the cold, and then the next day it's really hot and you're a bird who's accustomed to the cold. It's really bad for you because you won't be able to adapt to changes, and lots of birds are dying because of this. Lots of animals are dying because of this. And I think the main cause of this is us humans, because we are polluting with plastic, and we're not conscious of what's happening because it isn't happening to some of us, and it's like happening to animals, and we don't really care.
You seem to be very aware and conscious of humans' effects on other humans and non-human organisms, and that makes me really hopeful for our present and our future. Thank you so much again, Fernanda, for joining us on this Bird Girl special. I'd love to go bird watching with you and your dad in the Ramble in the future. Hi, welcome. I'm here with a young birder, and I'm going to ask her to introduce herself.
My name is Clara, and I'm 8 years old.
Welcome to your bird story, Clara. I'm going to start off by asking you to describe how you became interested in birds.
I don't really remember, but I remember in first grade that in our school, Eberwhite, there was a forest that had a family of great horned owls, and I also had a red-tailed hawk land near me, so it was probably around that.
Okay, and do you remember how old you were?
Around 6, I think.
Around 6. So you've been interested in birds for a few years now.
Yes.
Do you have favorite places where you go to look for birds?
Well, not really. We traveled around a bit, so I've been able to see birds everywhere, but my favorite place here is by the lake in northern Michigan.
Okay, and what makes it your favorite place?
Well, it's just like we put up bird feeders so you can hear the birds, see them, and it's really nice.
And do you recognize the birds that you hear before you see them?
I can do some of them, but I need work on a lot.
What are some of the ones that you can recognize by their sounds?
Chickadee. Chickadee is pretty easy. Also, I can do the cardinal, and it's hard to remember all of them, a few others.
Okay. Can you make the sounds?
I'm able to make, the chickadee.
Do you wanna say it in the interview so folks who are listening can hear it?
Yeah, well, you know how there's 2 ways that a chickadee can do?
No, I didn't. Oh, please.
Okay, there's one way that sort of sounds like this. I'm not very good at it, but it's harder. And then there's the which is pretty famous.
Yeah, wow, that was really excellent. I'll have to listen out for that first sound. I hadn't heard it before, and so now I'm going to really pay attention. Well, can you tell us what your favorite bird is, or if you have more than one?
I really like owls, and my favorite is the eastern screech owl.
I don't think I've seen an owl in real life.
I've seen one. There's a great gray owl in South Carolina that we saw in the wild.
Oh, amazing. And why is the screech owl your favorite?
I really just like how it looks and how it sounds.
If you were to describe how it looks to someone who hadn't seen it before, how would you describe the screech owl?
Well, I describe that it's a small bird. It's a reddish-brown color and sometimes gray. It has ears, tufts, and Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
That's pretty good. Thank you. That I always find that when you have to describe something that you really like, that can be challenging. And I think you've done a really good job. I can picture the screech owl in my head based on your description. And so I hope our listeners can too. So of all the places that you've lived in and seen birds, or trips you've taken to see birds, are there some that stand out to you that when you think about them, you're like, oh, that was so awesome?
Well, I told you before, I really like the great gray owl because I'm totally interested in owls.
And so you've been interested in birds for the last 3 years. Do you have any advice that you would give to girls who are just starting out looking at birds?
Yeah, well, if you really want to see some, I advise you set out bird feeders because a lot of different types of birds came. Two types of nuthatch, a tufted titmice, and black-capped chickadees, along with a few others.
And what kinds of food are you putting in the bird feeder?
Well, we've made our own peanut butter suets. The birds really like that. And we've also have out sunflower seeds and just like a mixture of different like nuts, fruits, that sort of stuff.
Okay. And one last question, Clara. Do you use field guides or binoculars? What do you use to help you see and identify the birds that you see?
Well, I use both. I have 2 different field guides, Birds of the Midwest by Stan Kentucky, I think that's how I pronounce his name, and the birds of, and bird one, another bird, I can't remember the name. And binoculars really help.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners before we go?
No, not really.
Well, Clara, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about being a bird girl, a girl that enjoys watching birds. In this episode, we hear from girls who bird. These girls demonstrate incredible interest and curiosity as they describe their birding practices and discoveries. The birding world is full of accomplished women who are ornithologists, biologists, foresters, artists, stewards of environmental organizations, top-ranked birders, naturalist writers, researchers, and wildlife photographers. Yet, sponsorships of gear, such as binoculars and cameras, are still overwhelmingly awarded to white men. While we see some diversity among the leaders of birdwalks, white men continue to dominate, and one New York City birding organization defended this practice, stating that their members demanded birdwalks led by people with the greatest expertise. Washington Square Park Eco Projects rejects this idea and suggests a revised way of thinking about expertise that moves away from one person speaking information to passive followers. We believe in a more feminine, collaborative model, which promotes the curiosity of a new birder, the young eyes of a child birder, and all skill levels on the birding spectrum equally, where shared participation enriches the communication and education an experienced birder can share with others. This model has greater ability to lift up the voices of diverse birders. These girls in this episode express their joy in nature and discovery. Washington Square Park Eco Projects proposes that organizations, opportunities, and sponsorships accurately reflect gender, age, and racial diversity as a way to uplift the voices of a diverse group of children. We support all you bird girls as a way to ensure safe and equal access to a new generation of birders. Thank you for listening.